Now that you have completed your graphic organizer for your 3 paragraphs, we're going to take that graphic organizer and use it to write our paragraphs. And I'm going to demonstrate how to do that in this video. We're going to look at how to take all the different parts of the graphic organizer and put them together in a paragraph using transition words, right? Transition words are used to start a new sentence off, to move from one reason to another, and most importantly, to connect your reasons to those details that back the reason up, right? We have to make sure that the reasons and the details are connected, and that transition word helps to connect them. All right. So I'm going to demonstrate with paragraph 3. This is the without gravity paragraph. And it starts off and it says, I know that gravity is a force that pulls matter down because all sorts of strange things can happen without it. I've got 2 reasons in here, right? One reason is that things will easily drift away. And details to back that up are when you open a bag of potato chips in space, they're going to all float away. Another reason I've got is that it's really hard to drink coffee because it won't flow into the cup, right? Gravity's not going to pull it down into the cup. And details to back it up is, I found that part in the reading about astronauts and how they have that special cup that's shaped like a wing of an airplane, so the water kind of creeps up the cup, so you don't pour it. And then I've got my conclusion here. As you can see, gravity keeps everything acting normally, and without it, life can become difficult. I've also got some transition words here. These are transition words to connect the reason with the detail. Things like, I know this because, for example, this proves it because. So we're saying, yep, here's my reason, and I can prove it because, or here's an example of it, okay? So let's take this and let's write a paragraph. I'm just going to write it right down here. So first I'm going to start with my introduction. And if I like my introduction here, I'm just going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it right down here. There's no need to retype it all. So introduction, I know that gravity is a force that pulls matter down because all sorts of strange things can happen without it. So now I need to move on to my first detail. Let's see, one thing that can happen is things will easily drift away. So I'm just going to write that. One thing that can happen is that, I don't like the word things, is that, objects can easily drift away. Now we need a transition word for this. So I already have it here, right? For example. So for example. And anytime I have a transition word, I need a comma. It's that space. For example, and here's my example. So you notice all my transition words are red, right? One thing that can happen. For example. So what can happen? For example, and I've got it right here. When you open a bag of potato chips in space, they'll start to float away. All right, so what do I have so far? I know that gravity is a force that pulls matter down because all sorts of strange things can happen without it. One thing that can happen is that objects can easily drift away. For example, when you open a bag of potato chips in space, they'll start to float away, right? So I didn't just say, objects are going to flow away, take my word for it. I proved it with an example. For example, when you open a bag of potato chips in space, they will easily float away. All right, so now I'm on to my next reason, and that has to do with drinking coffee. So I've already got my transition here, right? Something else that can happen. So I'm going to write that now. Okay, so something else that can happen is, and I need a comma here, right? It is difficult to drink coffee because it will not flow out of the cup. Well, what do you mean, Mr. R? Is there any evidence or any details that you can use to back it up? Well, yeah, right? We read about how astronauts in the International Space Station had to invent a special cup shaped like the wing of an airplane. This allows the coffee to creep up the cup instead of falling out of it. So I'm going to write that right now. All right, so there it is. I know this because astronauts on the International Space Station had to invent a special cup shaped like the wing of an airplane. This allows the coffee to creep up the cup instead of falling out of it. Why did I put the word creep with quotations? Well, I did that because that's a word I took directly out of the text. That's not my word, right? That's the word from the text. I can't just steal that without using it. I mean, is that a word I would use? If it was just me, I would say it would allow the coffee to kind of like slither up the cup or move up the cup or flow up the cup, but they used the word creep, and I like that word. So I used it, but I had to give them credit for it. So that's why I put it in with quotations. Okay, so let's see. I've got my introduction. I've got 2 reasons. Each of those reasons is backed up with details. I've connected the reasons and the details with these red transition words. All that's left for me to do is a conclusion. And I've already got that written here, and you should already have yours written in your graphic organizer as well. As you can see, gravity keeps everything acting normally, and without it, life can become difficult. There it is. Okay. One last thing I need to do. It's a paragraph. It's got to be indented, so I just press the tab button at the top left to indent, and there's my paragraph. Okay. Use your graphic organizer to write your paragraph. Make sure that your reasons and your details are connected with those transition words. Make sure you've got an intro and a conclusion, and you've got 3 paragraphs to write. So get to it.